and welcome to my channel. My name is Farida and I garden here in Zone 8 in the UK. It is the 15th of August, the height of summer, and I thought it would be the perfect time to do a little tour, show you a few things that are going on around the garden. Things are bursting in growth, but also some blight has visited the plot, which I guess is a downside to gardening. But yeah, I'll take you on a little bit of a tour. And this is my second season gardening here in this plot site. So yeah, let's take a look around. So guys, we're going to start just at the back of the allotment. Here we have some blackberry bushes that were here when we got here. So I've not actually done any investment there, but we're able to get lots and lots of fruit from there. Here I have got some super sweet corn that I've planted in. I'm really hoping for a harvest this year because last year something got to it before I did. And next over I've got some spaghetti squash. It's something that you can't actually buy in the stores here in the UK, so I've been really excited for a long time to try growing this. Come and take a look. So we've got quite a few flowers, and we've also got some lovely fruit that's been developing, which I'm really excited to try roasted. And then over here, Jack, the garden hermit, actually recommended center cut squash. Essentially it is a courgette, but with some really good flavor, like nutty and slightly sweet. You know how like courgettes don't really have much flavor to them, but this is delicious. It cooks really nicely in a curry or just roasted or just cooked with a little bit of butter, garlic and onion. Absolutely delicious, great filler. And I've been sneaking into lots of pies and things like that, getting extra veg into the kids. By the way, you can see that the center cut squash has grown all the way around this bed. It is such a vigorous plant. And the thing is, right to the very tip, it's fruiting. So I've got a flower bed here. It's got lots of cold hardy flowers in there. And also I've got some zinnias and some cosmos, which actually really start to flower very well as the days start to shorten. So after the solstice, I have noticed a definite increase in the amount of cosmos that I've gotten. And then zinnias, they're always a showstopper. I believe this one was just a general mix. I'll put the name of it if I can find it on the screen. So I've got here some nasturtium, which is a wonderful trap crop. It's beautiful, it's edible, every single part of it, from the seeds to the flowers to the actual leaves, which have a really peppery flavor, but it also serves as a trap crop. So you grow it in and around other things that are quite precious to you. And the caterpillars and bugs are mostly attracted to the nasturtium, and you can get away with them leaving your more precious flowers and veg alone. If you intersperse, it's a really good strategy. These purple and white flowers here, these beautiful flowers are scabiosas. They're actually quite cold hardy, so they have really surprised me with how long they've been able to flower, because they have been flowering since probably April, May time, I would say, and it's still going in August, like going really strong. Here I have some alyssum. This is a royal carpet alyssum, I believe, which has got more of a creeping habit. It's great for ground cover, it's great for the front of the border, and the bees absolutely love it. This here is my pride and joy. We've actually had to replace this. We got this fairly cheaply from Wilco and had to replace it because it had been out for a whole season. Last year we grew pumpkins up it as well, and it ended up collapsing under the weight of fruit. So the foliage and everything has had to be like restrung over a new arch, and it doesn't actually quite look the same as it did, but still we move. Here on this side we have a crown prince pumpkin plant. You can see that it's got one very large fruit here. We're using some netting just to support it and make sure that it doesn't come tumbling down, but it is the most delicious roasted. I've only ever tasted this once else. And I had gone to a really lovely restaurant in central London. I was like, whoa, I know this one. I've grown it for the first time. So it's absolutely delicious, really nutty. And when you cut it open, it has like a beautiful yellow flesh on the inside, and it's great roasted, great in soups in the wintertime. Here I have ukikuri. I believe that's how you say it. Please don't come for me if I've pronounced that incorrectly. But this plant has been ridiculously fruitful, and I'm so happy because last year the heat was so extreme. I only had one one of these pumpkins, and it didn't end up being edible by the time I went to eat it. So I'm really pleased. Hopefully this year I'll get a chance to taste it. Here is where I have my beans growing. But again, you can see there's loads of uki-kiri fruits. Chamomile here for some teas. And this is like my second or third attempt at beans because something or other has happened every single time. It seems like we're gonna get some beans before the end of the year. I can see some flowers coming. Again, this netting is down because of the collapse, and it's been really challenging to reattach it without damaging the foliage of the pumpkin plants. Right guys, so here I have some Merlot lettuce right here. If you're looking for a bolt resistant lettuce, it's a really good one to go for. I got it from Baker's Creek, and it has been in a polytunnel in the height of summer, probably above 27, 28 degrees, and not bolted. It is really bolt resistant. And I have here some Gumfarina growing. I'm hoping that really starts to take off as we go further into the season. I've had some rocket planted. It's going to seed, sadly. Some mixed greens. And my basil is looking really quite sad, but that is Greek basil. And some okra, which again this year has not been great for okra. I've had to like replant it. Probably this is the third time I had to plant it in. I can see some fruit coming along, but I'm not sure how much hope I hold for the okra. And then we have some, I think this is creeping thyme, and again some nasturtium that have actually self-seeded from last year, and some calendula, which I'm really thinking about for a fall garden or autumn garden. As I mentioned, I'm really thinking forward, even though it's quite hot at the moment, I'm really thinking forward to a fall garden and being able to harvest even when it's a bit chillier. So I've gone in and planted some brassicas in. I believe I've got some midnight kale, and I have some marathon broccoli, just so that we've got something as the weather changes. And here we have a second uki-kiri plant. This one took longer to establish, but now it seems a lot happier and it's starting to fruit, which I'm really happy about. So last year was really awful for my peppers, but this year they've done so much better. And one of the things I actually did was, before planting into the bed, I planted into one of these size pots just to allow them to expand from being in the cell tray, expand and, you know, put down some really good roots. And when I felt that they were outgrowing that, I moved them into this space, and they're happily ripening. I've got mainly sweet varieties. Here I have a paprika variety. It's called Sweet Paprika Zeta. I got that from Real Seeds. And here, oh goodness, the label's gone, but again, it's a sweet box pepper. Then just over here, basically this is quite a few heat-loving plants. I've got some lovely aubergine plants. Again, they've had a little bit of a hard time with the weather. Originally they were in pots. I've just transferred them in here, and they seem to be getting happier and stronger, and some new foliage in, which is very much welcome. So behind me, I've got some tomatoes in a pallet collar bed. I got these really cheaply from Facebook Marketplace. Actually stacked two on top of each other, filled them with some manure that we had deposited here, some old like leaves. I did what's called a hugelculture bed. I believe that's what it's called. And I just layered it up and put some compost on the very top. And these tomatoes were doing really well, but literally just this week, we had blight come into our area. And as a matter of urgency, after this tour, I'm gonna be pulling them out. I just thought I would show them to you because I wanted to show you the downside of gardening as well. Right here, I actually had some tomato plants. I took them out the other day. Again, all stricken with blight, and they were so heavy with fruit. So it was really heartbreaking to do. But luckily I had some that have so far been protected by the polytunnel, and I'll show you those in a minute. I have some celery, which actually, despite the heat, seems to be doing really well. I think I'm gonna harvest a few of these to take home. And then over in this bed, I have some turnips. Again, I'm gonna harvest those just to make space for some of the autumn sowings that are going in. I can see one of the beetroots going to seed, and I'm just gonna leave it there because the pollinators tend to love plants that have gone to seed, and of course I'll be able to collect some seeds for next year. This rose arch here is my pride and joy. In the middle of June, it was absolutely full of roses coming all the way over. I've actually pruned them back because we had some black spot, which has been a bit of an issue, I think, nationwide. I think RHS was speaking about the fact that we're getting a lot of calls about black spot, and I found that quite a heavy prune has helped us to regain some really healthy foliage, and this is a stage where they will reset because it's a floribunda. This is an iceberg from David Austin's roses, an iceberg floribunda. So I'm expecting, as you can see, a new set of buds have come into play, and we should have a really lovely display for fall time. Here I have a single flowering rose. This is actually from Peter Beals. It's a really old rose actually, and it has the most beautiful, like almost like cup-like roses. They're like in clusters. Again, a really stunning rose. My hydrangeas here, they're really suffering in the heat. I find that hydrangeas tend to suffer in the heat, but particularly if they're in containers. So yeah, they're crying out for water pretty much constantly at the moment. Let's have a look at the second half of the plot. I really wanted to show you my Bashi. So I have a little closed container into which I put food scraps. The thing is, you can put pretty much anything in here, even like pieces of like tissue paper, but you just have to make sure that the pieces are quite small. So I put in peels, I put in like all of the remnants after I make juice. You know, you have like that dry, like fibery kind of pulp. I pop that all in there, tea bags and that kind of thing. And then you put in some bran that's been inoculated with good bacteria, anaerobic bacteria, and it breaks everything down. And what's really good about this system is you actually have like something that you can lay as thick organic matter in your raised bed, cover it up with soil, and it's going to be beautiful soil in like a few weeks. And you also get like a liquid produced, which is a great fertilizer, and I really credit it for my thriving polytunnel because yeah, it's doing really well. So this area is a half plot, and I really thought it would be a great place to put as much fruit as possible. So I've got some fruit trees. I have an apple there, a plum tree, a cherry tree. Here I've got pomegranate. I live in hope that there will be a year with the right conditions for it to fruit here in the UK. The site that sold it to me said that it's possible, but it needs to be well fertilized and it needs to be a really hot summer. The only trouble with it is I'm not really sure if it needs to perhaps be placed into the ground. Maybe that's what I need for it to fruit next year. I didn't actually realize that it was possible to get fruit on a really small plant in a pot, but these are patio fruit trees. I've got some peach ones, I've got some apple, pears, and I'm hoping that next year will be the year that they actually produce some fruit. I'm looking at this plant, it doesn't look all that well. I can see some trails in the leaf and some brown spots, which tell me it's got some kind of a pest. Also, the leaves are curling up, so I really hope it doesn't have leaf curl, but I can actually see some buds that are really promising, which should hopefully set fruit next year. Next year should be the year that it fruits for the first time because the buds are definitely in place. So these are my Lady of Shalott David Austin roses. These can grow in a bush habit, and you can also get some that can be trained to grow quite high up. And I'm hoping that these will elongate and grow upwards. I did do the steps that I was advised to when I first got them, but we have changed the positioning of the pot, so I'm hoping that it will still grow nicely upwards for me. And on this side we have Gertrude Jekyll, an insanely well scented rose. It just smells so beautiful. Like when it's all in full flower again. I need to get rid of some of the hips, but we do have some new buds that are coming through, and I'm really excited for the next show. I have here some corn and some beans, as well as cucumbers and some very sad cabbages that have been gotten by maybe some slugs, not sure. But I'm really excited for this particular corn. I'm hoping to try it for the first time. You can see that it's a really dark, sort of like purpley black color. So it's going to be a really unique corn to try. And right through here I have got some peppers and some zinnias planted in these pots, and they do need some attention. Guys, it's already a hot day and I'm standing in a polytunnel. It's super hot in here. But that's really been helping the fruit to ripen. It does need a tidy, believe it or not. It was such a dense jungle, I could not walk down the middle of it. Yesterday we did some cutting and it needs some more cutting and pruning, but in any case we can see that the fruit is starting to ripen. I have some lovely sun golds over there, my absolute favorite tomato. Like, if you want to convert anyone to gardening, or if you want to convert anyone to liking fruits, get them to try a sun gold. It is super sweet and has like a sort of tropical note to it. You can almost feel like you're not actually having a tomato. It's that sweet. And here I have, wow, lots of slicer tomatoes. This is the Black Sea Man, I believe. And I'm not really sure what this is because the labels have all kind of eroded. So I have here a silver slicer cucumber. Again, it's fruiting really well. It seems to be training across the floor. And I have some crystal apple and crystal lemon cucumbers. You can see they have a really irregular sort of round shape, and it's so abundantly fruitful. I would say it's definitely a cucumber you have to peel though, because it's super spiky. Here I have some rimpicante squash, and I have some center cut squash as well. It's kind of grown into a big mass and a jungle right now. It's quite hard to believe how densely packed it is, but it's again growing all the way back out through here. And you know what they say, if you don't pick your squash or courgettes quickly, this is what can happen to them.